You want to get into shape, you want to start feeling better. But what's the best approach? We are going through 5 mistakes people make when trying to get into shape and what simple things you want to be doing to correct them. Number 1 is just doing cardio. This normally comes from a place of thinking this is the best route. And most will start up running, which is actually a terrible exercise to start with, which we'll explain why later on. It's actually also really important to be doing resistance training as well, which will help with getting into shape, health, and so many other things. You want to be doing 6 sets per body part per week. So that might look like for chest, doing a chest press and a fly, and for quads, doing squats and a leg extension, doing 3 sets on each of those exercises. That is a minimum. If wanting to actually be building muscle, you want to be upping that to at least 12 sets. The flip side of that, the second mistake, is just doing resistance training. People get stuck into this trap because it is good for getting into shape, but it's not the best for overall health. And the issue is, if you follow this route too far, it actually can become really unhealthy. And we're starting to see a massive issue with this, where there's loads of young guys getting on steroids like it's normal, without understanding the risks of long-term and hormonal health. And you've got women getting so lean, they're losing their periods because the body is just no longer in a healthy enough state to carry a baby. You want to be choosing health over aesthetics, not the other way around. And if you do that, the aesthetics will then follow. You definitely want to be doing resistance training, but you want to be doing it for the whole body and not just the ones making you look better. Again, health over aesthetics. Otherwise, you have everyone training their abs, but no one training the lower back. People training the glutes, but not the adductors, and nobody training their neck. These areas are important to train, which gets missed in nearly every resistance training program ever. So that's the resistance training part of this, but you also want to be getting 150 minutes of zone 2 activity a week. What's zone 2, you ask? That's basically getting your heart rate up, but where you can still hold a conversation, like a brisk walk, and you can add this just spread out throughout the week. You also want to be hitting max heart rate workouts once a week. So things like circuits, sprints, high intensity interval training, that kind of thing. You do have to be careful with the cardio you choose though, because a lot get caught in mistake number 3, which is starting too hard too soon. This is where injuries become common, especially if you've had time off from doing anything. We mentioned the problem with running before, and this is a classic issue. Someone who hasn't done any activity, so the muscles have got weaker, meaning the joints have less support, combined with normally some weight gain. So then you have more weight going through less stable joints. This is not the one. You're better off starting with low impact exercises like squats or the bike or the cross trainer or the rower or a leg press or anything where you're not landing a lot. Then when you've built some muscle and lost some weight, start transitioning to running. If that's what you really want to do, you definitely don't have to. There's many other means for cardio. Whatever you do, just build up gradually and give your body time to adapt. But these 3 won't be much help if you end up doing mistake number 4, which is playing for short wins. The classic of this is someone will get really excited, wanting to get into shape, choose a ridiculously hard diet to do, which is really low in calories, actually then lose a lot of weight, but the problem being a fair amount of that is also going to be muscle. This will then crash the metabolism, and then when you do start eating normally again, because the diet is too hard to sustain, the weight regain is then massive, and you end up heavier than if you'd done nothing at all. And you start again in a year's time, heavier with a worse metabolism, making it then even harder and resulting in an even more extreme diet, compounding the problem further. The solution to this is to play the long game and have a much longer time horizon, like a year or something like that. Again, focus on health over aesthetics. Eat healthy and work on nourishing the body. Exercise as mentioned and the aesthetics will follow. There's a big debate in the fitness industry of what matters most for successful fat loss. The it's all about hormones camp and the it's all about calories camp. They are both right though, but there is a big problem with one of them. So hormones will dictate a lot in terms of hunger, how you utilize those calories, how many you burn, but it doesn't mean you can ignore calories. If having to choose one camp, you have to go really down the calorie management route because you have full control over how many calories that are going in. The big problem with the hormone camp, even though arguably this is the more important one, you have no control over your hormones. You can only influence them, which you should also be trying to do, but you have to consider the calories if you're wanting any weight loss. Again, have that focus on health and you really can't go wrong. The big problem people make with sorting their calories is mistake number 5, using an online calorie calculator. You put some stats in about yourself and a formula works out how many calories you should be on for fat loss. But the body is way more complex than that and has no idea on the state of your hormones. Try and have your diet set up so that you're eating 40% protein, 30% carbs, and 30% fats. This is a lot of protein, which most people have a hard time getting in. But if you're training, you want this high. And then really simply for this, you'll have a baseline calorie number where your body weight will stay the same, which will be different for everyone. But if you're putting weight on, you are consuming more than that baseline. And to lose weight, you need to be under that. You don't want to have that deficit too high or you could be losing muscle with it. So if you've done a formula and that number is causing weight gain, it got that number wrong. It doesn't mean the calorie model is wrong. By all means, start with it as a guide, but you then have to adjust it according to your response. If it is such a low calorie number you need to be losing weight and it's just unsustainable, then you're better off focusing on building some muscle, getting healthier and building that baseline up and then trying again in a few months for the weight loss. So the best way each week is to do a combination of 150 minutes zone 2, doing a workout pushing towards max heart rate, 6 sets per body part and not just focusing on the muscle groups that make you look good, but all, and managing your calories according to your goal. At the end of the day, you have to be doing something you enjoy so you'll stick to it. A perfect program done rarely has nothing on an average program done consistently. Getting in shape is one thing, but staying in shape is another. And in this video here, we talk about the one thing that will dictate who will end up staying in shape and who won't.